Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's afternoon where Blake and I are. We're just coming up on the 12-hour, point in the day, high noon, and out here on the West Coast. One good thing. There's only one good thing that's occurred from government is that hopefully they'll pass. Is it passed into law, or they're just saying they're going to? That's all about the daylight savings. We leaped our clocks forward, and now
Yep.
we're good. Now we're not going to go back come the fall. We're not going to fall back. We're just going to keep it. No more of that nonsense. I love this idea, and it's the only piece of legislation, if it passes, that I think I can see myself supporting. The rest of everything else is bad news. We've got a bad news day going out. Canada falls further into its totalitarian, disastrous state. And but good things are happening in America, but America's got its struggles too. The Save America Act. Trump is working hard on that. Thune, whatever the head of the GOP, that guy needs to be brought under rein, and he's trouble. And clearly, he's oppositional to Trump. Comrin in Texas is a pain in the ass to Trump too. And there we have our struggles on either side of the border. None of it's really pleasurable. Okay, we've got Salt Zine in. Salt Zine. Steve. 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 Hi, Steve. Oh, my God. Steve. Just Saltine, put Steve after your name. Saltine Steve. All right. Holy smoke. All right. Well, I got some stuff to get into here. We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
so
do
many things
the
happening.
let's do the Bill C9 stuff. I got 3 X posts on it. Boom, boom, boom. I'll say my bit, and then I'll hand it off to Blake for his take on this stuff. But none of it's great. None of it's great. First of all, I'll make this all obscenely large so you kids at home can read it. So Bill C9, and we'll get into it, explain exactly what it's all about. There it is. What I have to say about Bill C9 would be considered hate speech by Bill C9. That's what Canada has become. Alberta needs to remove itself from this before even that is no longer an option. Liberal government has just successfully censored their censorship bill. They have a censorship bill, but instead of being able to argue about it, they censored you the ability to talk about the bill so they can just ram it up our asses and get this thing passed. By working with the separatist Bloc Québécois, why they're involved in this is how stupid this country of Canada is. We had, at one point, the Bloc Québécois were the official opposition in Canada. The Bloc Québécois' position, official platform, is we don't want to have a Canada. Now, I happen in 2026 to agree with them. That's how far I've come in the journey, but for different reasons. But anyway, separatist Bloc Québécois to end committee debate and ram the bill through our asses. They say Parliament, but it's more apropos that way. Yeah. All right, and then we'll do this one. We'll share this tab instead. Holy crap! State-controlled CBC wouldn't even let Travis Donraj discuss this or bring any conservative voices. This is a massive scandal. End the taxpayer-funded, party-controlled CBC. Now, Americans, you'll be astounded. It's like PBS. It's government-controlled, government-run, and we just have to pay for it. Whether we're paying for something where our voices are not even recognized, allowed to be recognized or acknowledged. They espouse everything diametrically opposed to everything Blake and I and millions of others Canadians believe in. But just listen to this shit.
CBC management actually prevented you from interviewing conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on your show. Can you describe what happened there?
Yeah, well, I basically wasn't allowed to pick up the phone and talk to conservatives. I have some G chats here, which I just want to read you part of this. I'm talking to my senior producer. I'm saying, okay, this is an editorial discussion. Can we get a conservative perspective on this is essentially what I'm saying. It is a no to the conservatives, I'm told. We can't chase anyone from the entire party. The chase is with PNP. So if Power and Politics is not able to secure a conservative or somebody that presents an alternate perspective, then we are not allowed to. I'm told at one point, we're sure that there's a myriad of other types of interesting guests that you can chase outside of the Conservatives. Can I be included on Conversations with Power and Politics? That's not how we work. I say to management, by playing petty office politics, we feed into conservative narratives that we have a bias against them. Canada Tonight is a melting pot of news of the day, and politics and decisions from it largely impact Canadians. So we need flexibility to respond to emerging stories. So yes, I wasn't even allowed to pick up the phone and call to request Pierre.
All right, hang on, and I'll explain about what's going on here just in a bit. But we'll just one more to share, and I want to share this here as well, just about this thing. Canadian Public Service announcement, folks, in case you're wondering what's going on. When the government decides what is disinformation, what is the truth, you no longer live in a free society. You live under totalitarianism, and that's what Canada is. So going back to our friend here, this guy used to work at the CBC, and he is appearing before a communications panel of some stripe or the other. Not exactly sure what governing body this is, but he's explaining here how on a publicly funded official state-owned broadcaster, that conservative voices in line more or less with what Blake and I would believe and position for, are not even allowed on a show called Power and Politics, a show specifically designed for political debate. We pay for it, but our voices are nullified, persona non grata. So Bill C9, what is Bill C9? Bill C9 is a restrictive bill on free speech as defined by the government. So, for example, you are not exempt if, as a Bible-believing Christian, you say something to the effect that transgender people shouldn't receive funding from the government for their surgery, something like this. Say you posited an opinion on that level. Or say you said something like, I don't feel that the Indigenous and the Métis people had children murdered and buried by Roman Catholic priests on schoolyards throughout Canada. And so because you're going against the government narrative on this sort of thing, they can censor you, they can fine you, they can imprison you. Yeah. So it's dire stuff. It's the kind of nonsense we're seeing in England, where I don't know, hundreds of people. I'm going to say simply, I think it's a safe bet to say, fact check me on this, that hundreds of people have gone to jail for social media posts and this sort of thing. This government is fragile. It's overreached itself. It's in opposition to the president of the United States. It's problematic on every extreme. It's totalitarian. It's a shithole. Something's got to give. Blake, I hand it over to you. Give me your thoughts on Bill C9 and the ramming of it and all the rest of it.
Well, it's interesting that the elbows up crowd of the Liberals who claimed to be all of a sudden decided they wanted to get a patriotic backbone when it came to tariffs and their war against Donald Trump. Because let's remember, the Liberals were in league for a long time under Justin Trudeau, starting back in 2015 onwards. They were in league with the Democratic Party. They were lockstep, sharing information with each other, going to each other's conventions, doing, all kinds of stuff where they're cross-border. So as soon as Trump started to run, the globalist establishment order went full tilt against him, which called in their dogs from Canada as well. So let's just say for who these people really are. These are the people that are telling you that to be Canadian is to be a post-national state. You don't have any core identity. This is what they want. This is the dictates they want to go with. This is what's happening in the United Kingdom. This is what's happening in Australia. There's an alliance within this core group that are tied to the Crown of England that want to turn us into something we're not. They're banning the English flag and making it a hate symbol speech if you're using it for specific protests. But yeah, they're arresting. I think the numbers I saw are 12,000 people a month are being arrested for posts in social media, not just X, but any kind of posts they don't like.
Yeah.
This is what they want to bring to Canada. Now, Bill C9, and where I was going with the whole Patriot crap is these guys are going full tilt to block the Alberta independence movement. They've got their Elections Canada stepping in, not allowing a federal political party called Alberta First to be organized.
Yeah.
And yet here they are aligning with the Quebec separatists once again in the Bloc Québécois and showing that elbows up is meaningless to them. Elbows up has nothing but just a psyop to a bunch of stupid voters.
Yeah,
The
paid
uneducated,
for,
the morons who listen to the CBC crap that you quoted out earlier, who are stuck in this endless loop of government psyop and propaganda. And they haven't realized that the entire Canadian media establishment, we call regime media, are controlled by this machine. And so Bill C9 is to go in a series of bills that they have put out, but it was like the crowning achievement to close out them all, and essentially is going to allow the power to strip you, not just be charged as a hate crime, but you can have everything you're connected to removed by the order of a minister. Your internet, your cell phone connections, access to your bank accounts, access to everything can be stripped without due process. So Canada's taking it a step further than the United Kingdom. They're actually cutting you off. That's their way to do it. They won't put people in jail because they can jail you by just turning you into a homeless person overnight. And that's how they're going to do it. And this is what the plan is. So Bill C9, what happened is in committee, which most of us in the Western world understand, most parliamentary systems have committees where you debate these issues, you hash them out, you beat the crap out of them, these ideas, this is the mill they're supposed to go into to all parties and everybody elected can come and discuss these issues and fight it out behind closed doors, though most of them are public as well. But the point is, there's nothing being voted on yet. But now the Liberals are just like, no, we don't want to debate it. They want to censure debate on the committee. They're closing down the committee. They got the Bloc Québécois to commit to this. And so now this Bill C9 can now go to a vote and they're going to pass it. Now, why would the Bloc do this? Because the Bloc is just a control mechanism arm for the Laurentian elite. This is how they get to drive billions of dollars in the scam that Quebec actually wants to separate. And it's a scam because if Quebec wanted to separate, just leave, right? It's that simple. But it's a scam party set up to keep people in Canada committed to driving funds, the excuse, into Quebec and to the Laurentian businesses. And let's say they're not even businesses, they're fake consulting firms or this and that. They get billions from across Canada. There's a reason why they don't want Alberta to break free. And the reason being is because Alberta has the energy. And without the energy, Canada falls apart. And so that money that they've been sucking out of Alberta funds that machine back east. So here we are going to be told you're not allowed to have an opinion. So you know what this is for? This is really to shut down political debate from the population, to terrorize your public from not being critical of your own government. You will not be able to be critical. You could be shut down overnight if you don't follow the rules they lay out on the groundworks of what you're allowed to talk about. And this is the problem with Canada. No due process, strip you of your rights. They were shown they were wrong during the Emergencies Act, which was also formerly known as the War Measures Act against the truckers. They used this stuff illegally. Even their self-appointed Supreme Court judges ruled against them on that, saying, well, you know, they're right. You're wrong here. And they know what happened?
It was over.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Nothing has happened to a single soul who did that. All of the people who were arrested had their bank accounts frozen, their money taken, their trucks stripped and taken away from them, and threatened to go to jail and taken into court and still being
Yeah, the
convicted.
horrific nature of it.
And here they are still going through this, and not one of the liberals have had handcuffs put on them, dragged in front of the courts for doing an illegal, outside of the scope of government indemnity action, should have been removed from power at the very bare minimum. But here they are, they're putting in legislation to make them dictators for life. So I think it's a big overstep. They say it's to protect people. No, it's not. It's to go against the opinion of the local patriotic Canadians that believe in Canada, believe Canada had a core identity, believe Canada has a right to be a nation. But these guys don't want that. They want to overrun us with mass immigration from the third world, replace the first world people that are here because they're too expensive. They want to maid everybody. They want nobody to complain about this. This is the problem. And if you complain, boom, you could be stripped of everything you have and access to information, access to electronic systems that connect you to your bank account, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But this is what's happening. So I don't know.
You're pretty active on Facebook. So as a Canadian, if you're a Canadian on Facebook and there's a political story, you'll get a notification because Facebook kowtowed to the Canadian government. Otherwise, the Canadian government was going to level fines on them. Yeah. Elon Musk, for his part, said, screw you, it's not going to happen. He refused to bow the knee to them. But Facebook did. So a lot of news stories, a lot of items that could be, given information to the Canadian people via Facebook, that avenue is closed to Canadians. So if you're on Facebook, I use Facebook for my genealogy. I have no friends on Facebook. I don't want any friends on it. I don't want to hang around and share memes or do anything on it. All I'm there is to kind of sneak and lurk and, oh, that's a cousin of mine for the genealogy. Oh, okay, I see. I got the right person. They live in this town. They're still alive. Oh, there's a picture of great aunt Petunia. I'll put in an email to the person. Hey, can I take that picture of Petunia? I want to throw it on my family tree. I don't nilly-willy take a photo there and just arbitrarily steal it and put it on my family tree. I always ask permission. Yeah. But anyway, so that gives you an idea of the nature of things. Now, apart from the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, there is only one hope that I can see for Canada. That's the United States of America through the auspices of Donald John Trump, who I love. Now, this is a really interesting comment here. Today, we had the U.S. Embassy or consul building shot the hell up by somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning or some odd. White Wabbit Warrior writes, and this is a very perceptive comment, I'm not quite sure my fellow Canadians are quite grasping just what happened. Someone shut up a U.S. Embassy on our soil. I say as an embassy is considered soil of the nation it represents. That's right. They shot up the U.S. Embassy from Canada. I get it. That is tantamount to a terrorist threat, correct? Now, the words of U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who says, let it be known if you target Americans anywhere in the world, hold on, too much, anywhere in the world, well, Canada in this case, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. It's still early, but you may want to prepare yourself. This will not go well for the Canadian government, and I'm here for it. Wink and a popcorn. And that deserves a like, and that deserves a repost. So, Blake, really interesting development. There was an attack on, in Canada against the American embassy. Repercussions for this? Any move from America regarding this kind of activity, or was America just going to, will this administration just kind of go, oh, that's an unfortunate development? What do you predict happening out of this? Any fallout?
At this point, I mean, it adds to the basket of problems that are, but potentially could give the excuse for the Trump administration to apply a heck of a lot of pressure on Carney even further. Now, it may not be tariffs, but the point is, if the borders aren't secure, and it becomes an issue, that is one area tariffs can be put in place. And we know this because that's not, the courts had said that's not why he got struck down on certain tariffs, is because but if it can be proven that there is a problem at the border, that Canada has lost control of its apparently allegedly, but I don't know the number, saying 700 Iranian espionage actors that are in Canada who are here, no doubt, who are like terror cells who can do this kind of stuff, right? And are going to be armed to do it.
And Iran just activated their terror cells, apparently. This is what the word is.
Well, and let's look at this on the other side of the spectrum here, too, with the Liberals. Now, the Liberals have amped up the rhetoric, anti-American rhetoric, so high, from Justin Trudeau, since Trump won his second term, through Mark Carney, the elbows up. Elbows, of course, if everyone's on, it's not hard work elbows up. It's cheating in hockey where you elbow somebody. Like, I think we got that probably from, Mark Messier, Mr. Elbows. Gordie Howe, too, Mr. Elbows. So it was like, it's a penalty. It's illegal in the game. And yet here we got a political party saying, let's play rough, let's play illegal. And so they've amped up. So this could be anybody, some flake that they've done, and it could be a psyop too. I said, anything that's happening in Canada like this, I don't trust Canada. I don't trust our government. I think our government is illegitimate. I think our government has done things to provoke purposely for their agenda. Just about everything has been done by design. These aren't accidents. But it could be, on the other side of it, a lone wolf that's been triggered, by the propaganda and has gone off and done this, right? And in that case, Trump's not going to, somebody shooting out a couple windows or something in the middle of the night when there's nobody there isn't going to, he's not going to bat an eye.
There was staff in the building when it was shot. Apparently, that report has come out as well, from what I was reading about it anyway. But I agree with you in tone and in orientation to the story. Is that, I don't think Trump will react. He won't knee jerk this. I don't think Trump knee jerks much. Yeah, people like to paint him as a wild cowboy knee jerker, but I don't think he does. I think he's. I think he thinks and plans, and he waits, and he baits until they fall into the trap, and then time comes.
Well, the problem is he knows he's got these guys by the cojones, right? I mean, they are literally across the world. The globalists are in full panic mode. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink. They're the ones that were providing information, no doubt, to the Iranian regime about targeting where Americans were located. There is stuff going on that the media is not covering, and the people don't understand how deeply there is a divide within the old Western order, the Western civilization.
It's funny how
order.
You and I know this, and millions of us do, but millions others of us have chosen to believe the lie. I mean, the psyop, for whatever reason, maybe it's because we're Christian people, we were immune to it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just read at a gut level when everything went down, when COVID went down, and I just had a gut level reaction to it all. And so I just think that it just kind of amazes me how many people have fallen prey to propaganda and control of the media. And the government has admitted that they used, high level psychological warfare on people during COVID, and God knows where else they've used it on us, right? I mean, we just found out Lyme disease. You hear about this one? Lyme disease is actually caused by ticks that were infected with an organism that was generated in a biological weapons lab and got out into the population. So if you got Lyme disease, boys and girls, that's where it originates from. Trump values his colleagues and always seeks their opinions before he makes his decision. That's wisdom and a multitude of counselors, the Bible calls that. But, a lot of what Trump's fighting against, a lot of it isn't new. We got some good news. Whether the DOJ is going to do anything about this, questions still remain surrounding Pam Bondi. Questions certainly surround Thune, the chair. I don't even think it's a question for this guy. He's got to go. But this came across the wire, and I want to talk about it. This is from Julie Donuts. Beautiful American flag. I love it. Donut. You got to love your donut. Remember the dumbest lie ever about Donald Trump, the president, grabbing the steering wheel of the beast, the limo, the presidential limo? The bitch is going down. Remember, no one is getting away with anything. Donald Trump posting. Nolte. Cassidy wrote, Trump attacked Secret Service agent. That's her name, Cassidy Hutchinson. Cassidy, Trump attacked Secret Service agent Hutchinson, has been referred for criminal charges. Now, the ball is firmly in the Department of Justice court. Republican lawmakers have finally referred Cassidy Hutchinson to the Department of Justice to see if criminal charges can be brought against her. Oh, please, yes, and may we. This woman is criminal to the extreme, treasonous to set the president up and with this far-fetched, nutty story that the Democrats use to smear the president, as they always do. And heads have got to roll, man. We got to see some justice. It's like that old thing. We talk about it often. The buzzard's up in the tree. Patience my ass. I'm going to kill something, the old vulture, right?
Yeah.
So do you think she's going to face justice or not, Blake? Or is this yet more theory, more opera for us to bread and circus our way?
Well, it shows that the administration has a long memory. It remembers everyone who has acted outside of the boundaries of their own indemnity protections. So just so that everybody understands, in government indemnity, when you're an employee of the government, you're indemnified from the actions of the government as an employee. It's kind of like insurance, if you want to call it that, but it's a law that protects you from being sued personally or being charged for actions that the government has made a decision to do. Now, in indemnity, in this case, if you've acted outside of government policy, outside of government law, in your own capacity, well, that indemnity disappears.
She lied, right? She lied, and she lied under
she
oath.
lied under oath. She made up a story. There used to be laws in place that you could go to jail when you falsely accuse people.
It used to mean something. Oh crap! They went and violated.
Unfortunately, the very leadership of our governments, plural, around the world, had decided politically to go ahead and make shit up about people as smears. And of course, Donald Trump knows that firsthand, in 2016,
no one's been vilified, smeared, lied about more than Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. The Steele dossier, probably that was the first one out of the gate, right? Yeah. That was the big enchilada that started this whole landscape or landslide of lies. But this is what's happened when the leadership no longer has honorable intentions. Like if you want to debate somebody on the ideas they possess, that's one thing. That's okay. That's called you're having constructive debates, arguing your points, your positions. But the political smear machine that has been used to destroy people for things they've never done, we're off the charts. As you said, there is no honorable members in government anymore. There just isn't. We don't see that, especially here. We used to call our in Canada, we call our ministers honorable members. Well, there's nothing honorable when they lie like this. But when you have government workers, this is the problem I've had. It's an infection. And when a certain political party plants their people all the way down the ranks, it used to be the upper echelon of government is where all your appointees and all of your people would be operating. But the far left has gotten, when they've been in so long, it goes right down to the very lowest levels.
Yeah, and in America, it turns into term limits. I mean, and both Republicans, there's so many rhinos in the Senate. they just had that vote. What was it, 349 or something? Said we're not going to investigate ourselves for any sexual impropriety. Oh, we want Epstein, but God forbid you should look at us diddling kids or whatever the hell they've been up to. God knows what they've been up to. We'll never know because they want it all sealed. Some good news again. John Solomon is an interesting character. He was on the Hill, a reporter for the Hill. He's doing his own thing now. So he goes, Solomon, editor-in-chief of Just the News, said Tuesday that explosive documents from the intelligence community are going to be rolling out over the next 10 days. This is interesting, and it's significant the way they time this. Over the next 10 days, drip, 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 drip. He described them as newly accessible after years of classification and linked the release to discussions around Executive Order 13848. There's Trump. He unleashes the dogs of war. He signs the executive order. The order finally works its way through whatever channels, and then suddenly the dogs get released, which addresses foreign threats to U.S. elections. Foreign threats to U.S. elections. Reactions range from excitement over potential 2020 election insights and accountability to skepticism about Solomon's reliability and the document's impact. I like that, the way where they go, his reliability and documents impact. Well, we won't know until we see it. It's going to be over a 10-day drip. But leading up to this and perhaps associated with it is the fact that the FBI just went into Arizona, which was, Katie Hobbs is a disaster. She's another criminal that needs to be taken care of. Corruption over corruption over corruption. So the FBI hit Georgia, which was a swing state, problematic, and then Arizona, another swing state, problematic. And I swear to God, I hope they find something. One of the great frustrations, and maybe a credit to the Grok AI, but it goes out there. I said, Grok, you're frustrating to talk to because you just grab sources from the Associated Press and Reuters and all these things, and you use those as part of your conglomerate of information to weigh in on stuff. So there's no peer-reviewed examination of any fraud that occurred in 2020. It won't concede the point, won't give it to us. We need something substantial. And right now, we don't have it. We haven't seen it up to this point in a way that certainly Grok AI is convinced. Even though we're convinced on our side of the aisle, I believe Trump's right when he says the election is stolen. He's convinced of it. I've learned never to bet against Trump, and we're going to talk about why we shouldn't bet against Trump with a couple new items that I want to share. Yeah. But we got they're supposed to be getting a grand jury in Florida to indict Adam Schiff, John Brennan, and is it James Clapper? Also James Comey. There's so many people in government today that only got there by cheating. It's ridiculous. That's right. And I believe the president himself has said there's a lot of people in Congress that shouldn't even be there. They're illegitimate, and also illegitimately within the Senate, that there's corruption, that Dominion voting systems are suspect, problems, oversight, the 3 o'clock stop, you never seen before, and everything was going all Trump, and then suddenly it flipped out, in reverse direction. And in a like in a landslide reversal of direction. So it's never been satisfactory to us on our side of the aisle. The other thing is that YouTube and other social media platforms said you can't even talk about election interference. You can't even voice that. We'll boot your ass off the system. I got booted off Twitter because I reposted or retweeted in those days President Trump in 2020. So a lot of problems. Yeah, I'd like to clap off the clapper, quite frankly. I'd like to see him clapped in irons. Blake, your thoughts about John Solomon, maybe as a reporter, your thoughts about the possibility of foreign election interference. Do you think it happened? And do you think there could be some coordination and association with the dive in Arizona, Maricopa County, combined with the release of these documents? Do they tie together in any way?
Well, they're all interconnected,
Yeah,
100%. I mean, that's this election fraud that was done in 2020.
Do you believe there was election fraud?
100%. There's no way Joe Biden got 81 million votes. And anybody who says that is being intellectually dishonest, that they think that he got 81 million votes. Not even Obama, at the very height of his popularity, got anything close to 81 million. To have 10 million or whatever it was, 11 million more votes. You know who had the single biggest vote tally in the history? Came second. Donald Trump in that vote was 74 million approximately. There is no way.
Trump had the record. He had a record amount of votes.
It was a landslide. And
Blake, I just want to remember the graph, Blake, where the line went and then it went zoom, like it just did a beeline, like a.
I have my own experience with that, and I published about this in our own BC elections, and of course, I'm talking about tabulating machines.
Yeah,
BC
we got them here now. Yeah.
We got them here for the first time in our last provincial election, just before the Americans had their election for Trump, literally a month before. We had ours in October of 2024. And of course, the US presidential and elections were in November. And put it this way, they were still counting votes when the American election went on. And it was almost a month later here in BC because of all these mystery ballots kept showing up. All these
there were problems,
There was all kinds of problems, and here's the thing: their argument is these tabulators speed up the process. I can tell you, every election that we've had prior, where they're hand counted, outside of really close elections where they do hand recounts, you would know by that night who won. Same night, you would know.
And in British Columbia, we didn't know, did we? There was a delay on calling the election.
I was almost 4 weeks by the time they finally called it.
Yeah.
And every time one of these ballot last minute where the Conservatives were leading, all of a sudden, whoop, like a tranche of votes just showed up out of magically.
Little magic elves carried the little liberal, little LGBTQ plus, and Islamic little elves went moving.
But that graph you're talking about, I remember looking at it. And again, these are the machines that they were using in the US, tied to Maduro, by the way, and Venezuela.
Interesting that's been taken care of.
That's connected. And so essentially they had put during that vote in BC that night, there was a Conservative that was leading at a really good high margin all the way through the evening until the end. And you know how on television they'll show each riding going by, and they're saying what the vote change. You think, oh, they're winning quite easily. And they had this graph. Well, all of a sudden they got to Richmond, and it was I think it was Richmond East. And there was the Conservative was leading. It was leading. The bar was like Conservative up here. NDP was down here. All of a sudden, at the very end, it went like this.
Fuckers.
And the other one went straight down. And I took a screenshot of that.
Because
I said, what the heck is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. Could someone explain to me how all the votes would go to one candidate and none to the other and cause a sudden spike? Because typically on voting trends, if they're going in a certain way throughout the evening, they're going to stay that way.
Yeah, there'll be
little ups and downs, but not straight up spike
like a rocket ship.
Or what are our carbon crazy people are all, the hockey stick. Yeah, the hockey stick in elections doesn't exist. It doesn't happen unless you're dumping boxes and boxes of fake ballots to count them through.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry. There's a guy in BC right now running he's called the Remanded. He's got a great X profile. You should follow him. And he's going after this in BC elections, going after the very same thing that's happening in the US, what Trump's going after. And this is the problem. And I 100%, I think that this is all going to exposed in the US. It will come over to Canada because we're using those now.
I think Maduro and Venezuela, I'm really glad you mentioned that. I think that's critical. I think Trump knows about that as being connected. And now it's going to leave the Dems scrambling in order to find a new corrupt center in order for it to work that way. Ukraine has often been mentioned that way. Now, Ron, I was always really careful about this in times past, but YouTube changed their rules of engagement. And so we're allowed to talk about it now. I think for whatever reason, whether it's because the DOJ or Trump's in power and he's scrutinizing stuff like this and could possibly go after them, or YouTube was afraid of Elon Musk or some other conservative entity buying them out. But if the rules hadn't been changed, I would have changed. I wouldn't mention it. I was very careful to avoid any problems that way.
But people should be angry. Yeah. I should say people need to be angry, though. You need to be angry that this was allowed to happen. And don't allow people to browbeat you in the media with their prostitute media to continue to tell you that you're the problem. It's time for everybody to clap back at these guys and don't let them get away with it, because they will do it again. And they will try to do it again this fall. There will be attempts. I don't think they'll get away with it now. I think there's going to be eyes everywhere, and all of the megaverse should be showing up at every place to scrutinize every single place. And watch all night. Put your cameras outside, everything, and don't allow any internet connections to voting machines at all. Nothing. And hand ballots and ID.
I think the SAVE Act already passed Congress, and now it's gone to the upper house. So everybody, if you're an American, get on the blower to your senator, send an email, whatever the hell you have to do, and tell them you want that SAVE Act passed. Everybody wants that pressure. Everybody wants it. A couple of good news reports coming in. I want to share a couple of good news items. The first one, breaking. The U.S. Navy has just successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has announced this. Huge. President Trump's maintaining stability of global energy during the military operations against Iran. The U.S. Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing to global markets. Trump will not allow a major global disturbance to oil. He's following through. Isn't that wonderful? There's a happy little boat, and Trumpy Bear going to see him through. Like and repost this. This is great news. So when you have great news like this, well, other good news ensues. And so this is the other good news. Breaking, the stock market is soaring and oil prices are plummeting, just like Trump said. Always trust Trump. I love that comment. Always trust Trump. Well, I sure the heck do. And things are going very well in terms of the markets responding well. So Trump taking control of Iran, creating it safe. And we talked about this last episode, where the transference of the insurance of these ships went out of Lloyd's of London and it went into American banks. So America in control, patriots in control. That's, Blake, I know you're not a Q person. I'm a self-prescribed, self-identified Q person. And I'm happy to say that that is a Qism that the president went and retweeted, and it was, or reposted, and it was a picture of a fighter pilot in the jet, says patriots in control. And that's an old quote from the Q department of things. So Trump uses this over and over and over. All these, he plays with it, whether he's behind it or not. His administration has not been afraid to play with it and use it for their own propaganda interests. And there's good propaganda, bad propaganda. I don't mind considering Q to be some degree of propaganda, but it's still the motivation, the driving mechanism of it is truth. So very happy about that. And I was talking about getting deplatformed and debanked by the Democrats. They would do it if they didn't get slapped for it. They've been mucking around with Trump. They've been effing around, and they're finding out, Ron, a lot of them. And I forget who was the latest one. It was some moron on one of these news programs. I know that Ted Lieu from Hawaii, he's an idiot, and he's been saying some egregious, slanderous statements against the president. So there's been calls for Trump to sue his ass. And I think it's one of the View girls is saying a bunch of crap about the president, say, that's none of that's true. Trump could sue her. And Trump's been very successful with his litigation on these matters. He's funding the presidential library. They're funding it for him better than that abomination that Obama came. Obama, short for abomination, quite frankly. Blake, go ahead. What do you think about the Strait of Hormuz and the markets responding accordingly? Patriots in control, true or false?
Well, they are in control. They've got the military strength to hold it and protect it. That's the key. And luckily, at this point, none of the other big powers in the world are getting involved. They're all sitting back and letting Iran take their lumps. And I think this is going to be the thing to watch for, is that, when it's not, when is the regime change going to happen by the people of Iran? Are they going to rise up and get those people out? Hopefully they're weakened enough to step down. That will really stabilize oil prices. But having control of the Strait of Hormuz, I think, 1/5 of world oil goes through that point.
Yeah.
So, but what's fascinating is I was watching this post about this island. I can't recall what it's called, but anyways, it's right off the coast of Iran. It's Iranian territory. It's where all their oil reserves are. And people were saying, well, you're going to draw China into the war. Well, it turns out China collects it's in its list of oil producers that they buy from. Iran's about number 7 or 8. It's way down the list, right?
Yeah.
So Saudi Arabia is number 1. And then it's like a whole bunch of places around the world, other places in the Middle East, but their dependence off Iranian oil is very low, actually. So it's not going to cause a terrible situation
from China.
But there is one island that has all of their oil reserves where they storage, all the tanks are stored, and then from there they distribute to the rest of the world.
Did we blow it up yet?
No, they're not going to blow it up, because Trump knows if he blows it up, that will trigger a spike in oil prices, right? So that's the kind of point, and that's what they're pointing out about Trump. Trump's not stupid. He's not going to go and hit that island and light it up, right?
Yeah.
But nor are the Iranians. Why would they want to blow up their own reserves and what they're shipping off to the world? That's really one of their biggest sources.
I guess the only reason that they might do it is in order to get China in, do a false flag on that,
China is not going to get involved with it unless China was being blocked. Their ships might start getting blocked from going to pick it up.
And they aren't getting blocked. Trump's allowing everybody through. We're open for business, right?
Well, I think his point is he's not at war with the people of Iran. He's at war against the Islamic Republic regime, the leaders of that party that are running that government, who are murdering. And this is the funny thing is that we've got liberals running around getting all their hair lit on fire about this, and
as they do.
As they usually do. And it's just like, but they're forgetting the fact that before a single shot was fired by Trump in the United States and Israel, and that there was estimates of 35,000 people have been murdered in the last number of weeks by this regime on their own people. And it's funny. It's just, how many times do liberals have to they're always picking the wrong side. They always pick the wrong side, because it's not about caring about reality. It's about the elections. They want their people in power, and they don't care who they support. So, as I said, they can change flags. This week it's Ukrainian flag. Next week it's Palestinian flag. Next week, it's the trans pride flags, and then it's the Iranian flag. And the funniest thing is watching these same people who do all these protests in the street coming face to face with Iranians, real Iranians, people of Iranian descent in North America, colliding with them, showing up in tens of thousands of people celebrating this. And you've got the same gang, the Hamas holds, as we like to call them, banging their drums and doing their Marxist marches through our streets, are so outgunned, so outnumbered, and now they've got their Iranian flags supporting the regime. I'm like, really? So you could support somebody who's massacring 35,000 of their own people, and same people complain, it's like, well, we should have went into Rwanda. Well, no, we need to stay out. Well, how many people died in Rwanda? And we just ignored it. right? It's just like if we're going to show a moral code around the world that mass murder and dystopian governments are something we're against, then we need to show it collectively around the world the same point of view. It doesn't go selectively like, hey, well, because this is politically expedient for us on this front to get involved, but on this one we won't. So it's okay. Pol Pot, go kill 2 million of your own people, right? Let's just turn a blind eye to it, right? Let's turn a blind eye to Rwanda.
That's a pretty tough one, isn't it? Because every situation is going to activate different variables. China will react on this. It won't react on this. Do we want to go to war with China? Maybe not. Maybe we'll back off at this time.
Yeah.
Are we in a position to do a protracted war? All sorts of variables go into it. So it's not cut and dry as to why we might operate in Rwanda or, Cambodia or where, name your trouble spot.
But I guess I want to come back to Iran for a minute. So I don't think Trump wants to cripple Iran so that it has no infrastructure left when the right people take charge, right? That's kind of the
He
thing.
said that was a problem with Iraq, is that they
destroyed it.
They obliterated everything, and that it created ISIS and
and Afghanistan too. What a mess! I mean, you're having to go in as a foreign power and nation
completely critical of Afghanistan.
And nation build, right? Nation build in a nation that doesn't want you and never has, and has chased out every foreign invader in their entire history. And now they're at war with Pakistan. So let's see what happens here. But the point is that Trump has no plans to. I don't think he'll put boots on the ground. I think all the myth he's going to do a full scale invasion. No, this is to weaken the regime so that the people on the ground, the Iranian people, can take over just enough to loosen up their grip, to take their focus too. You might look at that, turn their guns against somebody else rather than the citizens on the streets.
Okay, two stories coming out in New York. The first one is this has gone a little viral because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Did you hear? You probably heard about this.
Yeah,
Liberal white people literally tell you stop being Islamophobic while Muslims launch bombs over their heads. We're dealing with the dumbest people that ever exist. So here's this idiot liberal, and then flying in over him is the bomb throwing Mohammedan Islamic. So I'll make it a little smaller, just so it all fits on one screen. Here we go. Let's go.
You don't live in New York. You're coming to New York to tell people who belongs in New York and who doesn't belong in New York. We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
And it didn't go off, thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
You don't live in New York.
So here you got this activist, and this guy comes flying in to throw an improvised homemade bomb. And fortunately, as Blake says, it didn't go off.
It was full of nails, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Maim, destroyed, the whole thing. Meanwhile, we got this breaking story. This broke this morning. So fake news lied about an attack on Zoran the Moron, the mayor of New York, for days. And just like that, lo and behold, there's a suspicious package at his mansion today. Oh, it's white nationalism. Remember the one, Letitia James or one of them, or Jasmine Crockett? Well, I can't remember which one. Ilhan Omar. I think it was Ilhan Omar. And some guy ran in and sprayed her with some sort of laundry detergent or
fake,
some bloody thing. Yeah, I mean, it's all bloody fake.
She flinches. It was like she gave almost like a head, like now it's the time to do it.
Yeah, a little nod, head fake, whatever. Breaking update. NYPD bomb squad shut down 10 blocks near Gracie Mansion after a, quote, suspicious package found nearby park. Gracie's mansion is now being evacuated per Fox. So there you go, over on the Fox network covering that. So whether it turns out to be a real thing or not, a real explosive device or not, I can't tell you. But it is kind of interesting that after a week, because I think what they want to do is try and say, oh, it's the right wing and they're always blowing stuff up. And quite frankly, very seldom is it. You got I forget the guy at the Atlanta. Remember with the bomber there, the improvised explosive bomber, Unibomber.
Yeah.
That guy. He was like an
Communist.
independent. Yeah. What do you call those guys? Independents. Yeah, but he's there's a political affiliation for that. You describe yourself as
well, they're self-radicalized.
Yeah, but and not independent, but there's another word for them. Anyway, so he's one of those types. He's not affiliated with either the Democrats or the Republicans, right?
Yeah.
Libertarian. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Sue. And so Unabomber. So you get those. They're but the frequency of religious fanaticism, this sort of thing. We just had. We're having troubles in Canada right now. Not only did we have the American embassy shut up. Are you going to do anything about it, Donald John Trump? Golly, maybe you should think about it. And then we also had in Canada a temple, a Jewish temple, a synagogue shot the hell up. Explosions outside. A couple of synagogues that have problems. So we're seeing problems here, Blake. We're seeing them act up. What are your thoughts on the situation with Mohammed or whatever his name is? Yeah, the mayor guy in New York. And then also with this, the IUD, the guy was throwing improvised device, whatever.
Well, the people that were throwing, there was two of them involved apparently on that one. And at first, as usual, they tried to say it was white nationalists that did this attack. And it quickly turned around and turned against them right away, that these were apparently self-taught ISIS sympathizers is now what they're saying, self-taught. Now, are they self-taught? I don't know. That will be the courts to decide, or if they actually were working with a group, we'll have to see. But they weren't very good, because if they were well trained, the bombs would have went off. Thank God. Again, they didn't. And probably very similar to the Boston bombings, right? They're doing
remember that, boy.
But very similar. These were homemade bombs using devices that are, you can buy out of a hardware store. And I think that's I would probably suspect, but that these guys have done it themselves. But the point is that there is this radicalization that is being promoted by the media, by the regime media. And it's almost like they're egging on people to do something like this. And so there is a side that they're doing that. Then there's always this side group of shooters, these mass shooters, that always seem to be connected to somebody within the intelligence network that was involved with psychological work with patients and all of a sudden they become a mass shooter. And every single one of them have the similar MO attached to them. And there's something not right. When there's something not right, you can sense it. The story's not being done and something's not right behind the whole thing, much like Epstein, right? Epstein killed himself, right?
Sorry, I'll let you finish and I'll give an insight that I ran across regarding all this stuff.
But I think that there is a cross network to maintain power, fear, and control. This is what we call the PSYOP. And I think that mass PSYOP that's been done on people to keep them controlled. There was just another media where they take the media and doing the same talking points. There was just another one released literally yesterday, and I was watching it, and they're saying the same thing over this. And the talking points were exactly the same. Bang, 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 bang on everybody's saying, and then somebody's
memo comes out.
Where are they getting this from? Like if all these are independent media sources, independent news stations and radio stations, why wouldn't they have their own way of writing it? At the very least, run it through ChatGPT or something and say, I want it completely different to say the same thing. But the point is, they just say the same thing. Yeah. And it is propaganda. It is part of that machine to get everybody saying the same thing, much like we saw through COVID.
Yeah. And well, you rightly identify as talking points. So in the Q drops, Q said 4 o'clock. They drop the message at 4 o'clock and it goes out. So it's been organized for years and they've operated for years. The other thing Q drop, this is another Q drop, said follow the psychiatrist. A lot of these kids that do school shootings and stuff, they're under psychiatric care. Find out who the psychiatrist of the kid that's treating the kid. And then the other thing Q said about that was they leave town after about a month. They're gone. They close their practice and they close up shop and they go. So an interesting observation. True or not, you have to do your own digging on that, folks. But here's a clue for you all, to quote a Beatles thing. Go research the psychiatrist. You find some kid's gone into a school, shot it up. Okay, the kid turns out he's on meds. And you even look at some of these kids. They look death in the eyes. They look like they're zoned out on all sorts of drugs or whatever the hell they're on. And so it's interesting to pursue that. So somebody with more detective skills than I have, could follow through on that and see if there is any truth to it. Pretty easy to tell if it's right or wrong.
Well,
So,
there's still ones
yeah.
we don't even know yet, right? It like
A
the
lot.
Vegas, like the story behind the Vegas shooter,
Yes.
the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history.
Correct.
He's firing apparently from a hotel into a crowd watching Jason Aldean concert, hurting hundreds and killing nearly 100 people.
Yeah, he
And
had
it was
like
80 some.
yeah.
He was just firing just indiscriminately into the crowd. Now, this guy had no history of anything connected to anything like that outside of, they tried to create this story that he was, with his Filipino wife, he was like a disgruntled gambler. That was kind of how they started the story. It's like, really, with a whole armament, and apparently was now connected, of course, to intelligence networks too.
Mhm.
So you start looking at this, and then all of a sudden the story just poof. It's
Yeah,
gone.
well, same with Trump's first kill, the guy that shot him at Butler. We really don't know much about that guy, and they cleaned the site up after pretty darn quick, and there was no autopsy done on the body or anything.
And again, and you'll notice now that when we're seeing these shooters, like what happened to Charlie Kirk, now they've got some social media stuff, because before the MO was, there's almost nothing about these guys online, right? It's almost clean.
Yeah, they say no history.
And now they're creating history, right? And that's what I'm saying. And that now they have to show some history, because nobody's buying it anymore, because wait a minute, they're questioning it. There's no history. What's with this guy? That kid who shot at Trump, who's dead, was in a BlackRock commercial, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he was in the BlackRock. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Okay, Blake, 3 rapid fire stories. We'll just do them bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
We'll line them up and shoot them down. Here we go. Pardon the context. Okay, it's official. Federal judges restricted ICE agents using tear gas against violent protesters at the Portland facility. Well, there you go. Blue state trouble. The same group of rioters who have attempted multiple times let me read this here, to raid the facility and even held agents hostage there. Supreme Court needs to get involved, and quickly there. So Oregon judge limits feds use of tear gas. Story number 1. Story number 2, we're going to move over to England for this one, Blake. Keir Starmer, they've got the same problems over there that we got here. They're a little ahead of us on all this, but we're following the same plan, right? Keir Starmer pushes ahead with digital ID plans. 8-week consultation is about to begin, announced today. No one voted for this. No one wants it. No one wants you in charge. Call an election. Government pushes ahead with revamped digital ID. They didn't like the way we put it out the first time, says Starmer. Well, let's tweak it, and then we'll put it out again. But the end result is the same. We're going to have control. And then finally, we have Theo Fleury. Okay, and let's make I'm doing that. Nothing says your government is incompetent better than home equity tax. Your government hates you isn't communism fun. So home equity tax, gosh, what could this be? Home equity tax is the idea that, well, it's basically communism. If your house is worth too much, that's bad. So we're going to tax your house more. And then your house is worth a little less. Well, you don't get away. You're still going to get taxed, just not as much as the other guy, but we're still going to tax you. And then, of course, the Starmer story with the digital ID, that's a problem for everywhere. So they can monitor us, track us better, and therefore control us better, and therefore take our bank accounts away from us quicker, that much quicker, track us down that much quicker, and imprison us that much quicker. And then with the tear gas, anything the left does, these are reactionary. These are activist judges in place that are clearing the way for Antifa and anti-Trump, Trump administration policies to get in place to frustrate Trump cleaning up America for the benefit of the country. Blake, take 1, 2, 3, or all of them on, whatever you want to do. Just a little bit of a smorgasbord there.
There is quite a bit. Well, getting on the digital ID, we already know right away that's the control mechanism to make sure that the plebs are obedient. And I think that's the serfdom. You own nothing and be happy tool, because essentially if you're not going to be happy, well, they can make your life miserable real quick, like your life is already going to be miserable anyways. You'll be enjoying your bugs for your meal. You'll be living in your shoebox of a home that they'll put you. And then, and if by chance you get sick, well, they're not going to spend any money on you. They've got the MAID access as well. But don't ever question them, because they'll just hit that button and debank you with digital currency and ID, much like we see in China. They can completely cut you off from society with the switch of a button. But unfortunately for them, good for us that there's enough of us here that I think are going to fight that off from ever coming here, to the point that I don't think the government really wants to cross that bridge. That's all I'll be allowed to say right now. And I don't want things to go that way. But if they try to push this even further in Canada, there's enough patriotic people here that are, I would call, legitimate patriots that will stand up to that crowd.
What do you think of Elon Musk's attitude towards Canada? My own bias suggests that he has a soft spot for us because of his own, because he moved out of South Africa, was born, raised there. And then he moves to Canada, and he spent a lot of time developmenting, his teenage years that are spent in Canada, a young guy. And then he ends up in the States, lucky bastard.
Well, that's what happens when you become the wealthiest man on earth, too. You're highly intelligent. Yeah. And a lot of Canadians that have done exceptionally well have left Canada. It's the ones that stuck behind that have done well, I kind of question, because they didn't make their money in a lot of ways legitimately. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying, our Laurentian elite gang who rewards
like Kevin Leary went south of the border. And
all the good ones leave to where they can make money and they can compete. Like I've been told in business for the longest times, like, Blake, you should be in the US because the amount of work you put in here, you would be successful.
It would transfer.
But that's so true, because Canada is a highly controlled system. That's a good one. Ron, Elon's my favorite African American.
Attaboy, Ron.
But what's kind of funny about Elon specifically, kind of going down different tangents here, but Elon, of course, has the greatest independent satellite system in the world, right? For Starlink. He could be that catalyst that would break Canada's control over the Bill C9. You do all that. He will look what he's done to Iran. Look what he's done to people who are disconnected. He'll say, free access to Starlink, connect to me. I'll give you all this so that those governments can't shut you down. The corruption can't shut you down. And, and I think that's going to be good. So, you won't be hiding your guns, Canadians. You'll be hiding your Starlink dish when they come for that, because that might be your only access to radio-free Canada, if you want to call that.
Well, if they push too far, there will be pushback. And then America's got to watch its border, because people will just be running out of here. Just heading over to Vancouver, head to the mainland and get the hell out and then seek asylum in the States?
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't think America will ever let it go that far. I think
I
it
don't
would.
think so either.
I
I
think
agree.
Mark Carney would be shut down faster than he can blink an eye. It will be the what you tell the story of about Lester Pearson and um,
Yeah.
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson.
Literally lifting him up off the ground and
Yeah.
pinning
True
him to
story.
the wall.
True story. Yeah.
And when you get to that level, you've pissed somebody off enough that's a bigger bull in the pen. You've got to let the bigger bull rule.
Well, Canada screwed itself royally. I mean, I've never seen the country in the worst, and we're in the absolute worst shape I've ever seen this country.
Well, and I just want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to finish my thought about Leon before I forgot. So there's a new story out right now that Canadian government celebrating they're going to challenge to be the greatest satellite internet system and it's just like everyone's hysterically laughing at this government decision because Elon's miles ahead and everyone's like saying the same thing. Canada, the government is promoting like this new satellite Wi-Fi internet system to compete with Starlink, and knowing full well that the days are coming that essentially that manipulation and control that we have in supply management here in Canada with regards to telecommunications is now out of their control because it's in space and they can't control space.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to compete against it. Of course, government funded, but we know here's where Canada's falling apart. And I think it comes down to this. I think through all the noise that's going on, we're going to go back to that looting scene from the Ruddles, I think it was. Was that what they're
Yeah, it's
that's what these people are doing. That's what's happening in Canada. It's being looted because it's coming to a close. It is. They can pass these bills. They can do all this kind of stuff. All these Hail Marys. It's finished. It's finished. It's over.
So it's almost a smokescreen or the appearance of going all in on the New World Order or what George Bush called the New World Order, the idea of digital ID. And we're going to just pander to it all and kind of march that way, knowing full well that at some point the hook's coming out like a la vaudeville, and Trump's just going to yank Carney off stage and say, okay, you had your fun. Playtime's over, kids. Clean up your toys. We're taking over.
Well, and all of Carney's efforts are now being shown or tied to his Brookfield asset control.
Which are 95%.
So again, nobody cares in the reality of these government. That's to the point that they don't care about the corruption.
No.
The corruption allegations are legitimate. There's not anything happened. There's literally trillions of dollars in Canada from all levels of government being funneled to friends and family and crony companies and all everybody tied to this. That's the biggest story that doesn't get talked about because every time it's an allegation comes out, it's proven it's happening. Nothing happens. Yeah. Over here, let's talk about Bill C9. Let's talk about this. We're going to have the culture war. Meanwhile, let's keep looting the money. Now Carney's got his hands on $2 trillion of Canada's pension fund.
Right. We sent it off to India.
And well, it's 100 billion of it. But the point is, he's dangling it out to the world. And where is it all getting pumped through? Well, every one of those deals that are doing is tied to Brookfield. Everyone is saying the same thing. You watch Mr. Sunshine Baby.
Sunshine Baby. Yeah.
He's been exposing this. Or no, sorry, Moose on the Loose, I think.
Moose on the Loose too. Yeah. Another good one.
Doing a mass expose, going deep dive into all these assets and this network of where all this money is being funneled. And it's Brookfield. Everything's connected.
And America has got the same problem with the politicians in Congress and the U.S. Senate. Bought, paid off, corrupted is just horrific. And it goes out to judges and it goes out to AGs, attorney generals in various states. It's just, it needs to end. It needs to be fixed. It has to happen.
Well, the failed state, I was just going to say, in every nation's collapse, it always collapses from within. And so when the corruption is off the charts and people are lining their pockets at the top and they're getting out of Dodge, that's when you know it's up. They're all leaving because they're stripping whatever capital is left and they're leaving and they're burying it into other places offshore. And lots of Canada's billionaire class, what few of them we have, and lots of their multimillionaire class are leaving Canada. They're leaving, and we already know that.
I don't blame them, but I would too.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Blake, as always, for being here with me as we look at some of the stories, the headlines that are going on. Keep your head on a swivel. Obviously, Iran remains a problem through sleeper cells and bad actors and just lunatics. And we're going to be back on Friday. So much happens in this world, but great to see the rebounding of the markets. As Trump predicted, control over the Hormuz Strait, very big development. This is wonderful. And to see the stock prices rallying and oil prices going down, all good stuff. Thanks so much. And thanks everybody for your support. Give us a thumbs up, share the video, and we just appreciate you all. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you, Ron. By the way, Ron Beaudry, old friend of mine. We love Ron. All right. Take care, everybody.